There's been U.S. executing, targeted strikes on Venezuelan just trafficking speedboats. That's been essentially, what the U.S. is saying is, hey, we're policing this now. Drug trade, it's connected to financial trade. It's a big business. It's banked by somebody. It's not the U.S. banks. For them, the U.S. banks wouldn't take that risk because they know they're going to get hammered. This does impact the international banking scene. So someone's business franchise is being foreclosed upon. That's part of this activity in Venezuela. The other piece, I'll get to this in a second, is all about international trade routes and the Panama Canal. You've also seen in the last month or so, the buildup and positioning of U.S. naval assets around the Caribbean. And this week, as this time of year, comes to a surprise of no one, this is hurricane season, and it's hit or miss. But more often than not, it seems someone in the Caribbean is in for a tough go wherever the unlucky winner on the roulette wheel, whichever number comes up, in any given year. You're always just trying to dodge that terrible storm in this location of the world. But Hurricane Melissa, it is one of the largest hurricanes, I think, on record. I don't know exactly which, but it got to Cat 5 status. Jamaica just
Some of
took
the
it
videos
all,
are
and now it's moving into,
incredibly crazy. Just seeing the size of the
yeah,
hurricane, but also devastation coming out of it. I mean, it's wild.
yeah. So you had a lot going on here, a lot of moving pieces. U.S. aircraft carrier group, the Gerald Ford uh, Armada. I don't know what the right term is. Yeah, I'm not a naval expert. Maybe we'll have one on someday to give us a better download. But basically, the Ford Group is coming over from the Mediterranean. It's in process. The Ford Group wasn't there yet, but it will be arriving in the next week or two. You also just have a lot of movement. Now this turns into also an international kind of rescue mission or aid mission to help out Jamaica. Cuba will need help as well. TBD to what degree U.S. will be involved with that aid mission for Cuba, just given the long-term dissociation that's been in place since like the 1940s, 1950s. But Jamaica, for sure, is going to need a lot of U.S. Assistance and aid. Um, you know, my base case is it's coming. Uh, it it kind of slows down a bit the Venezuela situation in terms of preparing the naval assets, but it actually, I think, counterintuitive might actually lead to more um, buildup in the region because now you actually have some international cover for a reason to be building out more logistics and supply lines because it's international aid. You've got someone in deep and distressed need. Um, and if you've ever read anything about war, any engagement at the end of the day, it's just a logistics operation. It's like, do I get my supplies to where they need to be? Don't overextend your supply lines. Whichever side does a better job of that is ultimately going to um, outlast and ultimately win one of these engagements. So you've got that taking place. You've also got this interesting development with U.S. military officials signing NDAs tied to this Latin America Caribbean mission. So it's very under wraps, everything going on. This administration, this Department of War is, I guess I'll use the word hellbent. Um, I don't think that's a curse word. But anyway, they're hell-bent on making sure the information doesn't leak out. No talks to media, no information leakage, just making sure all the buttons are tied up, which really highlights kind of the level of importance and criticality of I guess secrecy and cover that's in play here. Everything going on in the Northern Caribbean. What's this all about? Let's just tie it up here. Um, Somewhat related. I mean, it's definitely related to fighting the drug cartels, stopping the inflow of fentanyl in the United States. That's definitely part of the objectives here. I don't know which one of these is primary or secondary, or if they're two primary, but the real primary, what matters here is access to the Panama Canal. So you've got, talk about the Caribbean, right? Basically two bodies here. You got, what we used to call the Gulf of Mexico. It's the Gulf of America now, and that's they're signaling that, right? It's all about shipping lanes. And basically, what the U.S. is saying here, calling it the Gulf of America, it's like we have dominance of this body of water up here, the Gulf of America, basically everything around the southeastern coast of the United States, the Mexican kind of coastline towards the Atlantic side, and then this little stretch here where between Florida and Cuba to the north. That's kind of the naval or the maritime waters we have kind of full control and preeminence. And then the hot ground, where we want to make sure preeminent U.S. naval preeminence is established, is really this Caribbean Sea here. So the island chain, you can start it at the tip of the Yucatan, starting at Cancun. Everybody's had, maybe a nice vacation there. You got an open water stretch, but then you get into this, this chain of islands between Cuba, very long. You get into the Haiti, Dominican Republic, down to Puerto Rico, and then you get the smaller island chain, which then connects towards Trinidad and Tobago, and then you get into the northern coast of South America. So establishing control and safety of trade routes in the Caribbean Sea is really, in my opinion, the core purpose of this exercise that's taking place. That is the number one in terms of long-term, most critical objective. Really, what it amounts to is U.S. maintaining access to the Panama Canal, which is key. All your West Coast trade ports from, Port of Long Beach, Los Angeles, up to like San Francisco, and then the Pacific Northwest. You got Seattle, Tacoma, Portland, et cetera, on the Columbia River, all of that. The economic integration, like you have to have the Panama Canal over the long term for what we're talking about here, the next wave of build out of supply chains, and ultimately the American economy built on the Western Hemisphere. You've got to establish supremacy here in the Caribbean Sea. So think about this. We just inked this partnership, sealed in at the ballot box on Sunday with Argentina. Any trade with Argentina, right? You're not going to go around the bottom of South America through the Strait of Magellan. It's just way too risky of a shipping lane. Like you just don't do it. You don't want to count on that. Those ships from Argentina would probably be coming up through the Atlantic side, and then if they're going to North America, or Argentina to the West Coast, you got to traverse the Caribbean Sea through the Panama Canal. You can make it up to the Gulf of America into the Southeast United States, or like the Atlantic seaboard up to New York, avoiding that northern coast of South America, Venezuela, which is kind of like the most hostile, sovereign state towards U.S. interest right now in the Western Hemisphere. But this is what this little exercise in the Caribbean Sea is all about, in my opinion. It kind of pieces together, and the puzzle pieces connect with everything we've been talking about on prior episodes and iterations of the weekly roundup. So basically, what we got here is probably 2 to 3 weeks of wait and see, more build up, just more logistics support coming in play. And you're going to see a lot of it for Hurricane Melissa. If the U.S. does that, it'll be kind of positive for international relationships, and then that'll just give cover for more buildup of infrastructure and supply lines for naval
Yeah, I think
operations.
it's kind of. I think Matt, you were the one to say this, at least to me, about kind of the Monroe Doctrine, right? Of just kind of looking at this hemisphere in the U.S. saying this is our zone, and as you start to put all the puzzle pieces together, it starts to really paint that picture of this is further examples of the U.S. trying to lock down our hemisphere essentially.
You look at prior episodes in history, big naval exercises, weather does tend to play a big role. We can go back, look at
Right.
Spanish Armada. We can look at a lot of them. Weather is a big factor. Think if you're positioning this exercise, US controls the escalatory ladder here. Like we control the time and place. And I think the choice to do this in hurricane season, um, is probably a reason for that, right? You want to use weather to
Right.
your advantage.